Can video games be art? Yes they can. Glad we cleared that one up. Unfortunately though, while many of us are able to appreciate games as works of art, visually, narratively, and musically, there are those less interested in the medium who simply refuse to admit that it can be meaningful in this way. To push back against this all too common dismissal, we've put together a list of games that are not only undeniable works of art, but are unique in their visual presentations. Now, I'm not the most, shall we say, artistically inclined individual. Bob Ross I certainly ain't, so I can't guarantee my terminology here is going to be absolutely on point throughout. But hey, that's what the comment section's for, right? I assume that's what it's for, since it's always so full of intelligent, well-considered art critique. Now obviously there are many games with impressive and unique artistic design, so it was quite tricky to cut it down to only 10 here. But perhaps one day we'll do a sequel list, so once again, head down to that comment section when we're done and tell us how foolish we were to not include your favourite. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 video games with unique art styles. Number 10. Return of the Obra Dinn. Return of the Obra Dinn is an homage to the days of Macintosh 1-bit gaming, so you could almost say it's the return of the Mac. Oh yes, now the video has started. Lucas Pope's critically acclaimed detective em-up was a breath of fresh air in 2018. Set aboard a ghost ship, you're tasked with finding out what happened to 60 crew members, all of whom have gone the way of good first-party Konami games and disappeared under questionable circumstances. It's a proper mystery, something surprisingly rare in video games nowadays, but more importantly, in regards to this list anyway, Return of the Obra Dinn has a unique visual style. Unique in regards to modern gaming, at least. After all, it is designed to be similar to a bygone era of computer games, such as Dark Castle, which all look like they were poorly photocopied. Return of the Obra Dinn utilises its art style as part of the story, with its pixelated design adding a veil of ambiguity to the mystery, meaning you have to rely on more than just what you see to solve the puzzle. Also, you can swap the visual palette to suit your own particular retro computer preference, or just pick the one that looks the nicest. I'm quite partial to the Zenith ZVM 1240 because it's orange and I'm a sucker for brand loyalty. Team TripleJump everyone! Number 9. Okami. I'm going to forgive Okami's 20-minute unskippable introduction because it's such a lovely 20-minute unskippable introduction that it highlights exactly why it deserves a place on this list. Okami is a bit like being inside both a comic book and a Japanese watercolour painting. Cell shading has been used in games such as Borderlands, Jet Set Radio, and 13, but Okami's use of the style feels different. When combined with a brush texture that looks as if it's been stroked by a particularly handsy Elmo, Okami is like you've wandered into an actual painting. And become a wolf as well, can't forget about that detail. Yes, this game has it all. You get to play as the goodest kind of boy, there are celestial gods, mysteries to solve, and well, frankly, it's actually all a bit confusing, and I'm definitely going to get something wrong if I say any more. So can we all just agree that the art style is very nice and move on? It can be a struggle for 3D games to avoid the cruel clutch of Father Time, looking more and more dated as technology progresses. But the painted world of Okami never seems to really age. A bit like Elijah Wood. Oh, you definitely kept the ring, didn't you, you tricksy little hobbit? Number 8. Limbo and the Unfinished Swan. Minimalism. Okay, you maybe want to know a bit more than that. Limbo and the Unfinished Swan both use a similar monochromatic design, with the style being central to the experience. But while these two games share an entry, mostly because of that shared colour palette, let's be honest, the fact is they're actually complete opposites. For one thing, the Unfinished Swan could definitely be described as abstract, whereas Limbo is at least a slightly more traditional looking 2D side-scroller. More to the point though, Limbo is set predominantly in darkness, with splashes of light giving focus, whereas the Unfinished Swan is bright by default, with the darkness being the highlight. or low light, I suppose. In Limbo, you take control of a silhouetted child in search of his missing sister, avoiding all manner of subtly spooky creatures as you go, and some less subtly spooky creatures too. Many of you won't have finished this game because once you met the spider, you will have just turned your console off, set fire to it, and maybe gone to bed. In the unfinished Swan, you throw black paint over an otherwise blank environment, highlighting your path and allowing you to navigate and explore the world. Light within dark and dark within light, duality, opposite and contrary forces yet complementary, good and bad, yin and yang, Bert and Ernie, cheese and crackers. Okay, I got a bit lost there, but I'm gonna go grab some cheese and crackers and I'll see you at entry number 7, okay? Number 7, 1111 Memories Retold. I can't say I've seen many games with a visual style based on Impressionist art. I can't say I'm likely to see too many more either. If you don't know what Impressionist art is, that's fair enough really. You'll have seen it, you just might not know that it's called Impressionist art. The most well-known examples would be the work of Monet. Think of it as small brushstrokes mimicking light, hence why it's all a bit wibbly. Like I said, I do not have a degree in art. While the fairly hazy style might not be for everyone, it works perfectly in 1111, where it's meant to represent a distant memory. Set during World War I, the game was directed by the same person who did Valiant Hearts. Unlike Valiant Hearts though, Memories Untold was made independently of Ubisoft, meaning it's already 200% more morally upstanding than its predecessor. We will never stop ragging on Ubisoft. 1111 was actually developed in collaboration with Aardman Studios, there's those cheese and crackers again, and is therefore by default a British institution, and it's your duty to Her Majesty the Queen to appreciate it. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. If I catch any of you eating a swan, there'll be hell to pay. Number 6, Gris. Artsy indie platformers are hardly a rarity. That's not a bad thing, the more the better when it comes to convincing the general populace that games are art, but there are arguably too many of them for us to choose from. While so many of them get lost in the shuffle though, Gris has stood out, gaining a good amount of recognition. Though one reason for this is the art style, Gris is the complete package with an engaging story, interesting gameplay, and a name that makes me feel pretentious every time I say it out loud. With the accent. It's Spanish, what am I supposed to do? There's a reason this title has won so many awards. It's not just pretty animation and nice graphics, it's got a surreal, ethereal design that is completely its own, accentuated further by the flowing watercolours. If you were to make the bold claim that Gris is the prettiest game ever made, I'd certainly have to stop and consider it before arguing with you. Number 5, Apotheon. Have you ever looked at ancient Greek pottery in a museum and thought, you know what, it's nice, but I wish there was a playable version on the PlayStation 4? Anybody? Anyone? No? Alright, well there's clearly at least one other person who thinks like me because Apotheon exists. When you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Greek legends were told through black figure pottery, so when making a story about Greek mythology, why not do the same? Games like Rock of Ages use some similar themes, representing characters of each age with that period's art, but Apotheon manages to create a fully fledged world out of the style. The game itself is a classic side-scrolling Metroidvania. While its presentation is undoubtedly top-notch, the game itself is quite shallow. The likelihood is you're playing Apotheon to experience the world, however, and with an art style this good, that's not a bad thing to do. So, we've already looked at Gris, and now we're on a game about Greece. Now all we need is a leather-clad John Travolta for the next entry, and we've completed the hat trick. And would you look at that? Number 4, Grease Dance. Alright, not really, I'm only joking. Number 4, Elegy for a Dead World. The main artistic focus of Elegy for a Dead World is its poetic side. The player goes from location to location, writing the story of a decaying world and building their own personal elegy. This means that no two games will be alike, and each person's playthrough is their own. But what about the visual aspect? Creative writing's all well and good, but look at the video title, this is not what we're supposed to be talking about right now. Well, the alien designs that will be central to your writings are what justify Elegy for a Dead Dead World's place on this list. They're mysterious and vague enough for you to put your own lore into them, yet have enough detail that you've got plenty of material to work with. You'll often find games that are designed to be intentionally vague when it comes to the world lore, but that's mainly for the purpose of story, keeping the focus on the main character. In Elegy though, the world is intentionally interpretable, and because of that it feels more real than many other video game worlds we've explored in the past. A game where you just wander from place to place and write a short story is definitely not for everyone. In fact, there's probably so few people that'll be genuinely enthralled by the premise that we think it sits somewhere between lederhosen enthusiast and amateur taxidermist on the nicheometer. But if it interests you, this game is absolutely worth a look, in a very literal sense. Number 3, Cuphead. It's reasonable to assume that Cuphead's animation contributed strongly to its success. The loose limbs and bouncy movements of the rubber hose animation style stand out, not just from other similar platformers or boss rushes, but from games of any genre. And didn't it do a smashing job? Rubber hose refers to one of the earliest forms of animation, which was popular in America during the 1920s and 30s, until Disney came along, did a bit of it themselves, and then killed it off in their pursuit of realistic movement. Cuphead employs this largely lost art form and portrays it very authentically, complete with an original big band jazz soundtrack and the grain and visual noise you'd expect from something captured on film in the early 20th century. And hey, if Cuphead is brave enough to defy the House of Mouse, surely we can each be brave enough to beat ourselves endlessly against the game until we finally finish it. Or give up, safe in the knowledge that we value our sanity and that it looked pretty while we temporarily had the patience to actually play it. Number 2, Monument Valley. It's easy to look at an optical illusion and wonder how anyone can design such a thing, so imagine how tricky it must be to make an entire game about them. In Monument Valley, you guide Princess Ida through a series of sacred geometry puzzles. By interacting with the environment, you find hidden passages through which Ida can progress. Not only is it impressive, engaging visual design, it's also integral to both the plot and the puzzles. Monument Valley is not the first game to focus on physically impossible levels, Echochrome preceded it, but the way that game studio Us2 integrated the Escher-inspired creations into a meticulously crafted setting is a wonder to see. Now, mobile games often get a bad rap. They're usually considered lazy, only serving to make as much money as possible. If you're expecting a defense of mobile games here, I don't have one. I'm just saying, it's pretty suspicious that Monument Valley is mobile only. What are you hiding, game? Are these optical illusions just very well hidden ads and cooldown counters? Probably not, it's just one of those rare quality mobile titles, but I don't think I'll ever truly trust it. And number 1, Gorogoa. Now, I've played my fair share of perspective-shifting puzzle games with hand-drawn Byzantine-inspired art before, but this... Oh wait, no, actually I haven't. In fact, I don't think I've even played any game before with this kind of puzzle in it. If that's not unique, I don't know what is. You aren't given any guidance in this game. No indication of what you need to do next, not even a clue as to what you're trying to ultimately achieve. By moving a series of tiles around a grid and zooming into different levels of each frame, you need to find which images correspond with one another. It's an almost tranquil experience. Not even the most cynical of critics could deny that video games can be art looking at this thing. Every frame is beautifully crafted, and it took creator Jason Roberts 6 years to complete, potentially even spawning a whole new genre in the process. Quite a spectacular achievement in video gaming, I'm sure you'll agree. Then again though, we've played Agent Hugo and survived, so whose video game achievement was really the most impressive? What, still Jason Roberts? Yeah, okay, fair enough. And that, as they say in the art world, is that. We've seen lots of very pretty, very unique games today, and there are many more out there, so do let us know your favourites in the comments below. You can follow myself on TripleJump on Twitter here, and if you want to support the things you enjoy, then why not check out our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I've been Peter from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.